Good afternoon. My name is Stanley Brown, and I'm the Dean of the Dalhousie School of Public Health at the University of Toronto. I want to welcome everyone to this special Alumni Reunion event hosted by the Dalhousie School of Public Health. But first, before we get into the event itself, I wish to acknowledge the land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it's been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. The Dalhousie School of Public Health is a hub of public health and health systems experts and thought leaders who I believe are having a positive impact on health locally, provincially, nationally, globally. We have a proud shared history of health system innovation where faculty and graduates have put research into practice, keeping healthcare accessible. The school itself is actually founded on a vision from over 100 years ago, where John Fitzgerald committed to making diphtheria a disease of the past. And in fact, it was through his pioneering efforts. It started off in a small laboratory in the annex right near the university, later occupied several of the buildings at the university, that Toronto and Hamilton became the first two diphtheria-free cities in the world. It was the first place in the world to synthesize insulin after it was discovered here in Toronto. And this rich history of constantly innovating and translating that innovation into impact has continued. But I want to talk about one of the most, I think, exciting and important innovations at the school in the last while. I want to talk about how we're trying to make the school itself accessible and how to make accessibility a priority for us. This commitment to accessibility really reflects the need for diverse perspectives in public health and health systems. Reflects the need that, or really the fundamental fact that public health is always an applied science. And for it to have that type of impact that we want it to have, it needs to make sure that it aligns the services and ways of support and ways of engaging that really work with communities. And what we need to do needs to speak to the barriers to education and training that marginalized and racialized people have faced within this field of public health, and really create pathways to careers like the one I've been fortunate enough to follow for everyone early on in life. And this really introduces the topic of this evening, and that's the Dalhousie School of Public Health Outreach and Access program. It's one of the ways that the school is seeking to invest in communities and begin addressing this need for building leadership in these communities in public health. So, this is fundamental, I think, for the school in really trying to build not only the student body, but really eventually the faculty that we want to see inside of the school. But it's also fundamental for how we start to transform some of the big shortcomings, or really meet some of the big shortcomings in public health. It's been said several times, but it bears repeating that this pandemic has been an incredibly equitable pandemic. And we need to make sure that we build capacity across our health system to be able to respond to this. And we ensure that our system is sensitive and responding to the needs of communities across the entire province, not just some of them. I'm going to just stop for a second here and do some thanks before I move on to the rest of the presentation, the rest of the event. I want to first start by saying thanks to Sekou Greg and Walter Byrne, who have been important parts of this program along the line. I want to thank Ryan Hines. I want to thank Jonathan Hood, who have been just critical to all of this. I really want to also call out that years ago when we started to think about this, Ryan and I were meeting in my office, and I said, it'd be great if we could do something with a access and outreach program. And he said, hey, I already do this. And he introduced me to Jonathan. I think together it's been a really, really successful program. And I want to make a very, very special thanks to Annette Paul, who has gone above and beyond her duty and her normal sort of daily responsibilities to make sure that this program has come to life. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan and to the students who are going to help us host the rest of the evening. Ryan, can I turn it over to you, please?
Thank you so much, Dean Brown. I appreciate the opportunity today. Appreciate the opportunity just to speak to you today about this program. And, the reason why I take so much pride in this is because this program speaks to my own experience. And so when you came to me with the opportunity to sort of think about how we can improve access to racialized and marginalized communities. I jumped at the chance because it gave me an opportunity to sort of speak to things and address things that impacted my life. And so just a bit of background, I was born in Guyana, moved to Canada when I was about 10 years old, and sort of was blessed to have some parents that helped pull themselves up by the bootstraps and made a better life for their kids. And I always had an interest in healthcare, but I think from what I knew, there were 3 or 4 jobs really in healthcare. I knew there was a doctor, I knew there was a nurse, I knew there was someone who was pushing patients around in a cart somewhere. That's what I knew. And I figured there was someone in an office doing something. And that was what I knew. And so for me, I paved my career path and really planted my goalpost really with just those 4 options available. It wasn't until I hit my early 30s that I get exposed to public health and health systems, and through the program at the Alumni School of Public Health and through the Masters of Health Admin program, I was exposed to the plethora of different careers and different avenues and different ways that I could use my own skills and my own interests to impact communities and impact the community around me. And so for me, the opportunity to sort of introduce those programs and introduce those different ways of using your own skills and your own gifts to improve the lives and improve the health of people around you. I'm really glad that this program was developed and that it's having the impact that it's been having. I want to give a quick overview of what the program looks like. I could really sit here and talk all day about it, but I think we've got some other people that you'll probably benefit from hearing from. But a quick overview of the program the program has 3 components. One component sort of reaches out to students in high school, and we spend some time going through some mentorship and spend some time really developing strong relationships with high school students and introducing to them different avenues and different careers within public health and health systems. After they spend years within that program, we try to provide some support to them as they look to advance through to their next stage of education, which is the undergrad portion of the program. That's called our junior fellowship program. And so going from high school, after you've learned really, what are the fundamentals of public health and health systems? Now I get a chance to now go to university and continue that learning through our junior fellowship program, where we really want to teach leadership skills and teach the skills of how do you now take an idea, take a goal, and then turn that into a community program or an intervention. How do I actually make change? So we spent some time really teaching about the healthcare system, the health system in general, and really what are the levers that you need to have in place? How do you actually make change? So how do we build capacity within youth so that they really are equipped with the tools they need to sort of make the changes that they want to make. Within that, actually, between sort of their usual high school calendar years, we have what's called the Summer Institute. And so the Summer Institute brings students together for a full week of really intense learning through case studies, where they get a chance to meet more professionals and get a chance to really apply some of the learnings that they've learned throughout the year and really through the summer, and really put that into some actual practice and then really try to make some real active approaches to learning. So now, how do I now take the lessons that I've learned, the careers that I've learned, the different ways that I can think about healthcare, and now how do I solve a problem? And so through this avenue and through this circle of sort of capacity building, we really try to spend some time ensuring that youth are not just exposed, but really are really grabbing on to some of the education that they're having. But this program is more than just about introducing, careers to students. It's really about building mentorship and building relationship with students, and it's those long-lasting relationships that really have an impact. And to that, I want to introduce someone who can really speak to really what impact that has. So I want to introduce Jonathan Hood, who Stanley mentioned a little bit earlier, and Jonathan Hood is the CEO of the Ahead of the Game mentorship program. And so I'm gonna turn to Jonathan, who's gonna tell you a little bit more about what mentorship means to this program.
Thank you, Ryan and Mr. Brown. Mentorship is critical to this program and the development of youth. I have been running the Ahead of the Game Youth Mentoring Program for a decade now, and my research revolves around youth development. I'm in the final years of my PhD, and what I've been finding year after year is that there is depth when it comes to development. There's the old adage that says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach them how to fish and you feed them for a lifetime. And that's an old adage. It's old, and we kind of need to bury that adage because there's a little bit more that goes into developing someone who wants to be a fisherman or who wants to eat for a lifetime, right? What kind of rod should I buy? Why? When should I go out? Do I have a boat to go out? What times of the day are the best time to fish? Where, when, with what bait? There's way more that needs to be done in order to teach someone how to fish for a lifetime. And when you fish, you're sitting there and you're chatting. And that's when the heart of it happens, the real juice, the good stuff. And in that dynamic, you're learning and you're sharing and you're growing and you're building trust. And you're allowing the person who's being taught or the mentee to understand you and understand life and understand what's coming next. And you share mistakes so they don't make the same mistakes. And you do what you can to pour into them, providing them with opportunities so that they actually surpass you. Any great parent, any great leader wants those who they are parenting or leading to be better than them. So they impart on them knowledge. They share experiences. They provide them with wisdom. They open up their network. We expose them to many different professionals, not only in public health, but also outside. We provide them with opportunities to do things like visit campus, understand that, you know what, you can be here too. Right? Understanding how to use resources and navigate through support. These are some critical areas that have been a little bit neglected when it comes to the development of young people. So we aim to fill those gaps with this program. And I think that we've been successful in doing so. You're going to hear from some bright, talented young people who are thinking about things I wasn't thinking about until I started my master's degree. We have a student who graduated from the program who's not here today, but we're still connected with. She just finished her first year of university, and she's teaching me things and exposing me to things that I didn't learn until my PhD. So in seeing the advancement of these young people at a way and a rate that is exponentially faster than us is our mission. And that's exactly what we're doing. So if you, as you're here supporting the program, we want to thank you because you're really allowing everyone to grow. Because even in that mentorship relationship, not only does the mentee grow, but also the mentor. And I know Ryan and myself, Sekou, Walter, everyone involved on the mentorship level has grown tremendously. And a lot of it's because of these young people here. Back to you, Ryan.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. I appreciate that. And so what we want to do now is take a quick minute and show you a bit of a video that we put together where you get to hear from some of the faculty at the schools that support this program. Now, this program would be not what it is today without the strong support of faculty within those schools. And you'll hear from just two of them today within this video. So maybe I'll stop there and we can start the video.
Hi, my name is Ms. Fernandez and I am one of the staff advisors of the Outreach and Access program at Runnymede CI.
My name is Carla Cernick and I'm the head of student support services at Runnymede Collegiate. When we met with Ryan in June of 2019 and listened to him describe the opportunities that would be provided to our students through the Dalla Lana School of Public Health Outreach and Access program, we knew immediately that this program was a perfect fit for our school population.
In the first year, prior to the pandemic, Ryan and Jonathan would come in and run in-person sessions with our students. Initially, we weren't really sure how the students felt about the program, but they came back every week and seemed to enjoy the conversations. Upon closer examination and through one-on-one conversations with the students, we learned that they were loving the program. They were growing, they were learning more about themselves, they were learning about leadership skills, and they were learning about public health. All things that they were interested in but never had access to before.
Our students have developed a deep, critical understanding of social determinants of health and how public health policy impacts their daily living.
There's this underlying, and we've seen this with COVID, right? There's underlying predisposing factors that unless you address these factors, it doesn't matter that you can isolate and get a treatment for cholera. I mean, that's important that you can get antibiotics or whatever you're going to get. But these are the root causes that predispose individuals as well. So you have to address both. And so there's an area of epidemiology called social epidemiology that really focuses on this. But really, at the end of the day, public health is about understanding that we're a function of our environment and everywhere around us. And if you care about the health of your population, you care about the predisposing factors, as well as isolating that cholera bacteria as well.
Decision-making in public health is important because at its core, there's never enough of any one thing to satisfy all those who need it. And so we have to make choices in terms of what we're going to fund, what population groups are going to be prioritized. And making choices means that you have to determine some priorities.
The combination of skill development and knowledge of public health and public health policy has taught our students that they have the power and opportunity to use this knowledge to make lasting, impactful societal change.
The students in our program over the last 2 years have grown so much. We've had students change their pathway plans due to this program. The impact is phenomenal. Students who once never considered going to university are now pursuing degrees in public health, public policy, and a variety of the sciences.
But the most important thing I want you to take away is that it's really about preventing or controlling. So preventing diseases before they start, or in the case of COVID, controlling an outbreak when it's happening. And we do this lots of ways.
I think you're coming to understand that there's no sort of right or one path into public health. In fact, many of us have arrived in public health with very different backgrounds. And what that adds is sort of a richness in perspective. It allows for different ways of thinking about an issue to come all together and think about what might be some of the best solutions.
Ryan, Jonathan, and their team have created an environment where our students are flourishing as critical thinkers, engaged learners, and leaders in the community.
They are invigorated by what they learn in this program and are passionate to discuss it not only within the confines of the program, but outside in their classrooms and with their peers.
The professors selected to participate in this program deliver content-rich, relevant information to our students. They engage in critical thinking and encourage critical thinking and discussion amongst our students.
And so it's much more thinking about structural, environmental, and other factors that are playing a role, because from a population health perspective, if I can address those issues, I'm going to have way more of an impact than just addressing everyone's issues one at a time.
We've witnessed our students transform into confident, self-assured, award-winning honor roll students who have a clear understanding of their potential. Who can ask for more?
Ryan, Jonathan, and the rest of the team are amazing mentors. We hope to continue our partnership with the Outreach and Access program, continuing it into the future so that many more students can access this outstanding program.
Daniela and I are so fortunate to be the teacher advisors for this program. Through all of my years as an educator with the Toronto District School Board, this has by far been the most impactful and successful mentorship programs that I've participated in.
So I want to give a special thanks to Ms. Cernick and Ms. Fernandez for helping us make that video. And I also want to give a special thanks to the faculty, the Dalhousie School of Public Health faculty that continue to support this program, continue to provide their expertise and introduce their own areas of work to the students. So our program today will include a conversation among current students in our high school components of our program, followed by a discussion with students that have been through the high school component, two of which are continuing as junior fellows in the undergraduate component of the program. Then we'll take some thoughtful questions from the audience, and attendings may ask the questions via Zoom in the Q&A section, and we'll be taking those questions and looking to respond to them. Hopefully those questions will be direct to our students, because I think really who we're here to hear from today are the students in the program. So with that said, I'm going to invite our current students. So Xavier, Bilal, Shamar, and Nala, I invite you to turn your cameras on, and we'll have an opportunity to sort of hear from you and have a nice chat, a nice discussion. So maybe where we'll start, because we've been talking for a long time. People are tired of hearing us talk. Maybe we'll turn to you all and ask you just to quick introduce yourself. So tell us your name, sort of what grade you're in, how long you've been involved with the program, and just tell us something about yourself that lets us know a bit more about who you are. So maybe we'll start with Xavier. Xavier, I'm turning to you, man.
Thank you, Ryan. My name is Xavier Williams. I've been in this program for about 2 years now. And this program really is amazing. It changed the way I looked at this world. It helped me a lot. Ryan and Jonathan really are inspirational people to me. Now I'm looking forward to trying to get into University of Toronto and work towards public health.
So thanks, Xavier. Good. So I'm telling you guys, we didn't tell Xavier to say that, but don't worry, Xavier, we appreciate it. I'm going to turn to Bilal. Bilal, tell us a bit about yourself.
Sorry, screen froze there. Thank you, Ryan. Hello, everyone. My name is Bilal. I'm a grade 11 student at Mark Reno Collegiate Institute. This is my second year in the program. And a little fun fact about me is that I love learning languages. So any language, I've probably dabbled in it. Not really well, but for sure. And I'm looking to expand my horizons when it comes to languages and the ones I know.
Perfect. Thanks, Bilal. I'm turning it now to Nala. Nala, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Nala. I'm in grade 11. I've been involved with this program for 2 years now. And one thing about me is I like learning in general. So about anything, and I'm very caring.
Yes, definitely very caring. Thanks, Nala. And last but definitely not least, Shamar. Shamar, tell us about yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shamar Small. I'm currently a grade 9 student at Running TI, and this is my first year with the Outreach and Access program. Outside of school, I'm an athlete. I play elite baseball. It's something I've done a long time. I've been able to see some places and learn some new things through the sport.
Perfect. Thanks, Shamar, and good to meet everybody. I'm sure everyone in the audience is probably happy to meet you guys as well. So first question, I'll direct it to Xavier and Bilal. So some of the students in the program were had volunteered, and some of the students might have gotten a little bit of a nudge, right? So if you volunteered, what made you volunteer to join the program? And if you received a nudge, what made you agree to join? Maybe I'll turn to Bilal, you can start, and then I'll turn to Xavier.
Super interesting, because I have a very interesting entrance into Dalhousie, if you will. I got an email out of the blue one day that said I was going to talk to Ryan for a couple of minutes some afternoon, and I was very confused because no one had told me anything about it. After some research and emailing my guidance counselor, she told me about it, and I was like, okay. I was very much a jack of all trades back then, so I was willing to do anything. I talked with Ryan, and he was super nice and really made me feel like my voice was represented and wanted to hear what I had to say. And I think that's really one of the big reasons why I stayed. Just getting to talk with so many people and having those ideas like bounce off of each other was super invigorating, at least for me. And it was definitely a environment that I wanted to stay in, and that I did.
Thanks so much, Bilal. Appreciate that. And so Xavier, were you a volunteered or were you a nudged, right? And if so, what made you agree?
I was a volunteer, actually.
Oh,
I'm
there we
pretty
go.
sure Miss Cernick called me to the office one day. I was very confused. I thought I did something wrong. So I was like, I was walking really slow to the guidance office, just like thinking, what did I do wrong? And then I walked in, Miss Cernick smiled, and I'm like, so did I do something wrong? And she's like, no, actually, there's this program. I'm like, what's this program? And I heard about Ryan. I'm like, seems pretty interesting. Football player, very smart guy. Public health. I don't know what public health was, actually. Never knew that was a thing. I found it interesting. And I said, because I like doing random things and I like playing sports. So why not? Why not open the door? Go for it. And ever since then, I met Ryan, Jonathan, Walter, everyone else in the program, their whole team, and they're really amazing people. They showed me a lot of things. They taught me a lot of things. And I really am looking forward to trying to get into university to see even more.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Xavier. And we're definitely glad you joined the program. Xavier's sort of one of our favorites there. So we heard so maybe what made you join, kind of what made you stay. Maybe now I'll turn it to Shamar and Nala. So before you got involved in the program, so had you ever heard of public health? And if so, what did you think it was? Shamar, why don't we turn to you first?
Before I joined the program, I didn't really pay any mind to public health at all. I didn't really understand what the purpose of it was. I just thought it had something to do with like infections and like population control and what, goes into the population and things like that. But then through this program, I learned that, public health is much broader and larger than that. And it's a really interesting field. So yeah, that's what I learned.
Appreciate that, Shamar. And Nala, so same question for you. Had you heard about it before, and what did you think it was?
So before the program, I did hear of the word public health, and I have seen public health clinics, but I actually didn't know what it was. And since it had the word health, I kind of just associated it with medical doctors and nurses.
Interesting. So I tell you what, Nala, you were ahead of me, so I hadn't heard of it until much later. So, but that's good to know. Maybe I'll ask you, Nala, and I'll turn it back to Shamara after that. What's one of the most interesting things you've learned about public health, or even about yourself during this program?
So the most interesting thing that I've learned would have to be about the social determinants of health, because I found it very shocking that where you live can have such a large impact on the resources you are able to access, like proper education and healthcare. And it also has an impact on your life expectancy, income, and employment.
Thanks for that, Nala. Thank you. And Shamara, same question to you.
The most interesting thing I learned about public health is just how broad it is and how far it can really reach. Like, for example, epidemiology is used everywhere, from the study of mental illness to infectious diseases to even aging. And that's just only one of the fields that's under the public health title. So that's one interesting thing to me, just how broad it is. Like, before learning about public health, I really only thought it was about just like infections and what goes around the public and stuff like that. So to learn that, it even focuses on aging and mental health and things like that, it's pretty cool to learn.
I appreciate that, Shamar, and I think we share that. That's very, very similar to what I thought. There's a couple things I knew of, and end of story, right? So maybe I'll ask Xavier and Bilal the same question, because I'm interested to know what was maybe some of the most interesting things you learned about the program, or during the program, about public health and health systems, and if there's anything about yourself that you learned, that'd be great to know too. And maybe I'll turn that to Xavier first.
One of the most interesting things was how viruses spread and what Nala did say too, in terms of health. I didn't know that you can really have such a big impact on just the little things in life. Like just where I live, I could probably live up to like maybe 60 years old. And I never knew that was a thing. I thought I can just live forever as long as I can stay healthy. I didn't know living in certain areas mean I have to die at a like specific age. That was kind of interesting, but I'll push past that limit. Okay. The next thing was how the viruses spread. I didn't know viruses spread it in 3 different ways. Kind of can't remember the names of them, but I know how they spread. I found that very interesting because I only thought viruses spread with just one thing, which is just the air and the kind of like contagious way. So if you get like touched by someone that was sick or something, it could just spread to you. That's kind of how I thought it worked. And I was completely wrong. And yeah, kind of learned a lot from that.
That's perfect. Thanks, Xavier. Appreciate it. Definitely that sort of learning is going to be really, or was really important. And continue to be really, really important. So couldn't have picked a better time to get involved with the program, really. And so Bilal, I'll turn to you. Same question. What was one of the most interesting things you learned about about public health or about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I think like most people, like Nala, Shamar, and Xavier, I didn't really know what public health was. When I was first approached for the program, I was like, hospitals, cool, great, step right in. But as I, came to the program, learned more about it, I realized how layered public health is and how many layers there are to so many of the problems that we face today. Like housing, viruses, how people get infected. There are so many layers to all of those issues, and hearing about how multifaceted a lot of the problems that we face today was very interesting to me, and I really wanted to learn more about it. And I thought that's one of the biggest things I really took away. Another big thing that I took away more about myself would be that I really do like statistics, which is something I never really thought I would like. So recently we had someone come in, Professor Siddiqui, and she told us about trends and patterns and different like issues across the globe. And through her little presentation, we learned that there are some times where correlation does equal causation. And sometimes, even though it doesn't seem like it, there is an actual connection between 2 problems. And I thought that was super, super interesting. And it kind of gave me like an insight, because I really do not like math. And I'm sure a huge portion of the population would agree with me. But statistics and data was just something that really made sense to me. I could see why finding patterns in numbers would be so important, and exactly how that could benefit the population as a whole. And so that was super eye-opening for me. And it's definitely something that I'll take with me to the future and when I'm continuing my studies.
Thanks so much, Bilal, and I'll agree with you. As someone who described himself as loving languages and loving learning languages, numbers was not the thing that I thought would be the most interesting for you. So that's really good to know. Big thanks to Professor Siddiqui for being such a great teacher. So all 4 of you have been part of a program that focuses on public health and health systems during a global pandemic, right? So has this changed the way that you've either looked at or understood the pandemic or its impacts? And I'll let any one of 4 you jump in if you've got something to add to that.
I can jump in. So I think as the pandemic was going on, I was also doing this program. And a few things that I learned basically were like, it gave me a better understanding of just how stuff is dealt with when it came to the virus and the stuff around the virus, and how it was actually like the conversations around them, the higher up conversations that most of us don't hear on a day-to-day basis. So like, as I learned through the Dalal program, stuff that was happening in person in real time made a lot more sense to me. And government decisions that were being implemented made sense because I was learning about them simultaneously in the Dalal program. And it was super interesting seeing how stuff I was learning was being applied to real life in real time. I know for school, like in school, we learn about biology, chemistry, math, which isn't it's super important, but it's not something that we can really apply in real time, especially not as high schoolers. So learning about something and then seeing it unfold in person was a new experience for me. And it was certainly interesting and something that was very valuable.
Thanks so much, Bilal. And I'm seeing that we're running short on time, so I might just jump to one last question, and I'll turn it to maybe to either Xavier, Nala, and Shamar for this one. How do you see this program, or how do you think this program is going to impact your future? And so we'll turn to Xavier, Shamar, or Nala.
I think this program is going to impact my future in a different way, because I thought of just doing only accounting and math, because I thought I was good at math. Kind of didn't really like school as much. Wasn't really good at science. Wasn't really good at a lot of things, but sports and math was kind of like one thing I was good at. But now being in this program, I learned about public health, and I'm very interested into public health. Like one of my peers just said, it's a lot of layers to it. There's a lot of things that I didn't know. I just learned, and it's a very interesting topic. Like I wanna go out there and kind of help communities. I want to be like Ryan, be ahead. Want to help more communities. Want to show them that there's more out there than what meets the eye.
Thanks so much, Xavier. And thanks so much, everyone. I know we're going to try to bring you guys back towards the end when we do a bit of a broader Q&A. But I want to thank you guys for spending some time with us. And we'll talk to you very, very soon. At this point, I'm going to ask Maha, Maimuna, and Khadija to turn their cameras on, and Xavier, Bilal, Shamar, you guys can turn your cameras off. I'm going to start by just quickly asking for an introduction from yourselves, Khadija, Maha, Maimuna. Your name, sort of give us a bit about your academic path, how long you're involved with the program, and maybe just something that tells us a bit about who you are. Maybe we'll start with Maimuna, just because you're on my left.
Hi, so I'm Maimuna. I'm a first-year life sciences student at UTSC. I've been involved in the program for, I think, 3 years now. So when I was in grade 11, and now I'm finishing up first year. One thing about me is that I'm really a product of not just my own experiences, but the experiences and stories of the people around me. I live in a community that's really diverse, and there's people from all walks of life, from, refugees from war-torn countries, as well as people from back home, from my country, who've lived there for a longer time. So hearing their stories and hearing not only just their strengths, but as well as their struggles has really shaped who I am. And something that Ryan told me, and I'd like to share with you all, is that there's value to all experiences. So even hearing about the struggles of other people's or the struggles that I go through, there's a lot of value to it, because if it wasn't me going through it, somebody else will. And so just to be able to see that perspective, to know those stories, it can really help really, I guess, widen my view. And it's something that you don't just implement in politics and things like that. Regardless of where you are in your field, I think it's important for all of us to see multiple perspectives. And also, one more thing, a piece of advice a teacher once told me was that we really need to tell our stories, because if we don't tell them, they'll be told for us. And so I think this program really helped me be able to tell my story and share that with people like Ryan and Jonathan, and hear their stories and realize that, I'm not the only one who thinks this type of stuff. I'm not the only one who's worried about this type of stuff or wants to cause change in this type of stuff. There's a lot of people out there doing that. So yeah.
Thanks, Maimuna. I'll turn it over to Khadija, and then we'll go to Maha.
So hi, my name is Khadija. I just finished first year. I am a health sciences student at Queen's University, and I was a part of this program in grade 11 and 12 of high school. It was one of my favorite high school experiences. And aside from being a university student and alumni of this program, I hold multiple leadership positions within my community. For example, I'm a community health ambassador with Health Access Dunkirk Park. I am a youth ambassador with the neighborhood office, and I lead the Youth of East York team, which is a youth-led organization which hopes to empower youth success within the diverse and beautiful communities of Thorncliffe and Flemington Park. So yeah, I really do like supporting my community in their journey to a happier, healthier lifestyle and just lives. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you so much, Khadija. Every time I hear what Khadija is doing, it makes me feel very inadequate. Turn it over to Maha.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maha Khan, and I am currently in the Life Science program at the University of Toronto. I've just recently finished my first year, and I am someone who's really passionate about amplifying the voices of certain minorities in the community, and specifically in my community. I also belong to the Thorncliffe Flemington Park community, and I've noticed that a lot of people in the community have concerns that go unnoticed and unheard because they believe that there's no way they can bring about any change or just bring any attention to the concerns they have in the community. But I feel like I'm someone who's passionate about this, and hopefully once I can get to a position of leadership, I can hopefully do the work that they need. A lot of what I'm passionate about is what I've seen Ryan do, is basically amplify the voices of youth in this community. But I wanna do that too on another level and just amplify the voices that need to be heard and usually go unheard. So that's a little bit about me.
Thanks so much, Maha, Khadija, and Maimuna. So I'll ask this question to all of you. I know we are running short on time, so we'll navigate that. So you guys are all studying something right now within your university career. So did the program? So what is that? But also, did the program have an influence on that? And if so, how? Whoever wants to jump in, please do.
I'll start. So when I applied to university in the fall of grade 12, I applied to business programs, I applied to engineering, I applied to life sciences as well. And I was really focused on engineering. I remember telling my mom, this is a really competitive program, and if I get in, I'm doing this for sure. So I think a lot of the experiences that I had at the time, as well as this program, went hand in hand into totally flipping my view. I think I was into engineering, first of all, because my brother is pursuing an engineering degree. So I thought, I think that would give a stable or successful outcome, and that's a safe way to go. I would see people get life science degrees, and there was this commentary of like, is that a useful degree, or how many years are you going to study? And I thought, I'm not going to be studying for like 10 years of my life and then looking to become a doctor. Or when it came to health sciences and life sciences, the only professions I knew were nurse practitioners, pediatricians, things like that. And that didn't really interest me. And so learning this whole other aspect of public health, the behind the scenes that go on, that made me realize that I am interested in health sciences and life sciences, but this is the particular field that I'm interested in. And so going through first year, I've been looking at already like master's program at the Dalhousie School of Public Health. I've looked at like, what are the things that I need to do in undergrad to be able to get there already? And at times I'm thinking, am I getting too ahead of myself? But I think this is the first time in a long time. And I remember in grade 9, 10, 11, my parents were worrying, like, what are you interested in? Because I was kind of all over the place, trying to take business courses, trying to take all sciences. And I was always like, I don't know. And for once, I'm like, you know what? I know. And it's okay if I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. Like, go ahead and look into it. And it's cool to set goals. And so, yeah, I'm interested really in pursuing a master's in public health already. And just this year with the fellowship also just amplified that interest, learning about the type of work, like Maha said, Ryan did. And there's times where it was like, a lot of these things are really hard. And when Ryan was talking about his day-to-day meetings and the type of issues he tries to tackle, I remember saying, like, you must have nightmares about this. But on the other hand, I was also like really interested because these are things I see on the day-to-day, but like, where am I able to go to share these things, or how am I able to change it? That's something I was never open to. And now I'm learning there's professions to just tackling these issues, and that's something I'm really passionate about. And so even though it's difficult, I felt like my eyes kind of lit up, and I was like, you know what, that would be really cool, and I would love to do something like that day to day. So it doesn't matter what's the most successful or a safe way to go. It matters, I think, what you're most passionate about, and I am really passionate about this.
Right, so I'll jump in and relate to a lot of what Maimuna said as well. So I'm currently majoring in human biology and psychology, but when I first initially joined this program in 2019, my only headset goal was I like biology and that's it. And then just like any other high school student, I was like, professions in biology, doctor. That's all I need and that's it. But I've even had like one-on-one talks with Ryan on what public health really is and how broad it definitely is. And I think Bilal mentioned that too before. It's like you come to realize how layered public health really is, because in our so like when choosing my majors, I would say that this program heavily influenced the second major that I took, psychology, because we would talk about stuff like how in communities, how different people work, different people behave, how other things happen. And a lot of it would be like just broad skill sets that you would not, broad topics that we would not talk about in the classroom environment. So it's like we would focus on youth. We had like a Google employee come in and he talked to us about why is youth not interested in certain classes? Why is youth procrastinating? What are the reasons for that? And I think that really helped like make my decision in psychology. And also sometimes we would have discussions in such as like data manipulation. Like you're a person of color in a community, in a diverse community, you have your data. Like we would have like Sekou come in and he would talk to us about this kind of stuff. You have your data. Where is it going? How is it being recorded? Who's showing that? So that really sparked up my interest and like made me feel like, okay, there are positions in which I can take hold of the data that's being spread about my community and I can present it accurately if I feel like it's being misrepresented by the media or something like that. And I feel like these conversations that we had were crucial into choosing my post for university. And I'm really grateful for that experience. Otherwise, I was genuinely like really confined to just biology, life sciences, some other post-secondary education, doctor, that's it. But yeah, that's how I made my decision.
Yeah, so I'm currently in health sciences, so I get to learn a lot about public health, physiology, anatomy, and all those fun health science topics. And when it comes to choice, I think many factors play into why we choose what we choose. And it's really funny because my story is similar to Maha and Maimuna. Even though I haven't talked to them in a while, we still ended up having very similar points. But yeah, coming from a South Asian family, I was told, there are certain fields that you should go into: doctor, lawyer, engineer, all those. And lucky for my parents, I did have an interest in biology, and I did want to help people. I just didn't know how. And well, through this program and through learning about public health, what I learned was that it's not just what's inside you that makes you sick. It's also what's outside and the external, whether that be socioeconomic status or there's many external factors. And that really got me thinking about public health. And this is something that I could go into. So when I was looking through the different options of what I could, what undergraduate programs I could go into, health sciences really stood out to me because they did have social and physical determinants of health programs, and they did have a global and population health learning track. Also, Ryan and Jonathan, they'd always make me feel like I was competent, and they believed if they could believe in me, then I could believe in myself too. And I did want to get into this program even though it was difficult. So I think it did influence my choice.
Thank you so much. I could listen to you guys talk all day. But I know we're running short of time, so I'm going to skip through some questions and just ask one more question, then I'm going to bring everybody back. So I want to ask, so you've all had the benefit of time to reflect on your time in the program. So as opposed to some of the students who are currently in it, if there's one thing you might pull out from that program that it's taught you, whether it's about yourself or it's about public health or whatever the case may be, or maybe it's around maybe it's changing the system, maybe it's what you want to do later on in life. Is there one thing that you can sort of highlight to say, this is something that I want to make sure that I mention? So using that benefit of time to reflect, tell us one thing that you might want the audience to sort of take away.
So I'll jump in here because I really wanted to share my experience throughout this program, because I think that I'm a person who's not really who doesn't really want to speak out loud, and not wanting to speak in public groups, not wanting to voice my opinions. And I would say that this program has been crucial in allowing me to improve those public speaking skills. I've been mentored so subtly that I didn't even realize it until I was able to like speak up, and that is, I think, because I was presented the opportunities to do so. Otherwise, I truly don't have an idea how I would have worked on improving my public speaking skills. I've spoken to Ryan about it. I told him that I struggle with this and that and that, and I consistently received positive feedback and encouragement. And I think that was a really big driving force in me being able to feel self-assured and being able to think that, yes, I have a voice and I can voice my opinions and I can do them with assurance and without feeling like, oh my goodness, what have I said, or like just not being self-confident enough, I guess. And I think this program was such a major boost in that. I mean, I have my friends that helped me throughout that, and with my anxiety and everything else. I had Maimuna, I had Khadija. These people were so like, they created such a healthy environment for me to talk in. But that's a friend group. I know that I wanted to be able to speak to public groups because I have a few opinions and concerns and things I want to talk about, but I never had the confidence to do that. And I think this program really helped amplify that. And I'm so grateful to this program, especially to Ryan, because I would have these one-on-one talks with him and he would share with me his own experience. And then he would tell me, okay, great. If you feel that way, then do this. Or he would give me a bunch of advice and he'd be like, listen to me, you have a really pleasant personality. You talk really well. You don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about that. It's not, we didn't even notice that. You're cool. And I feel like that it was subtle, but it was so crucial to me growing in this environment. And I'm so grateful for that. So thank you to this program and to Ryan as well.
To make sure I hold back tears, I'm going to jump to Khadija.
I really identify with everything that Maha just said. I really do think that this program was a super empowering part of my high school journey. Jonathan and Ryan were caring adults that believed in the power that the youth held, and that allowed me to believe in the power that I held, which really translated into me working with the community in different ways. And we learned about, public health, and it materialized that, this is something that I could go into. It solidified that this is a pathway that, I could go into. And we also learned about goal setting and planning ahead and how to be a community member. And all of these really play into how I want to make a change within the community, both local and global. As a fun fact, we also learned about logic models, which again, I have used in my roles within the community. So yeah, we've learned so much. I learned so much about myself and the world around me. And I would also like to extend my thanks to Ryan, Jonathan, and everyone who is a part of this program. I'm really grateful that I could join.
Thanks, Khadija. I appreciate those kind words. And Maimuna will turn to you, and then we're going to bring everybody back.
I'll try to keep it quick, but I'm passionate, so we'll see about that. I think my biggest takeaway is that I need to be not afraid to challenge sort of the commentary that's put out there by other people, and especially by media. I think, especially with social media coming up, there's a lot of things that other people say, and I start, as a result, doubting myself and doubting my struggles or the struggles of people around me. So to give more perspective on that, in this community, I think there's a lot of people in school, they've done well, in middle school, they've done well, and then we reach high school and things start to change. People get involved in the wrong things, or people start to struggle, their grades start to drop, they don't have goals anymore. And I think for a long time, the result of that was anger. I kind of listened to what other people were saying, that like, hey, maybe they're not trying hard enough, or maybe they just don't care enough, or they chose to go down that path. But now I'm learning, just because of who you are and from which communities you're from, there's chances of you encountering situations where you wouldn't have if you were, for example, from a different race or from a different community. And I think like finally realizing it's not our fault. Like no child grows up thinking that, hey, I want to be a failure. I don't want to be successful. I want to do this horrible thing, that horrible thing. It's kind of like the situation makes you lead to that point, and realizing a lot of these friends who I feel like started struggling in high school, it wasn't their fault. They didn't choose to go down that path. It's like a lot of kids are brought up in a system that wasn't made for them. And then the fingers are pointed at them saying that, hey, you messed up. But when I hit sort of my lowest points, that's when I started realizing that when you're at your lowest point, you're kind of okay with doing anything to come out of it. And it's really hard to find people who, I guess, understand your point of view. And a lot of the adults, and these are well-meaning adults, teachers, parents, and things like that, who will kind of be like, hey, you just have to work through it. You have to work hard. My dad always told me that, being from a different country, even though I was born here, my parents are immigrants. Just because of that, I'm going to have to work harder. And that's the way it is. I have to be so good that people can't push me aside. And now I'm realizing, why is it that we should just work harder? We should just be okay with it. And what we really need to do more, and especially for future generations, is that challenge those things and not say, hey, it's just the way it is. Be like, that's not right, that's the way it is. And we need to change that to make it more equitable for everyone.
And me all charged up, Maimuna. Okay, so thank all three of you for being part of that discussion. I'm going to bring everybody back now. So inviting Nala, Shamar, Xavier, Bilal, and Jonathan back to turn the cameras on. I know our time is limited, but I'm gonna throw some questions out there anyways. And so maybe the first question I'll ask is to the program participants. One question that came in is, what are your goals for the future? And maybe I'll leave that there. So what are your goals for the future? And I'll open it to anyone who wants to jump in.
My goals for the future is just trying to make it out, trying to work my hardest and push past my limit every other day, because I want to be someone that matters to other people, like Ryan and Jonathan.
I think for me, one thing that I really want to do in the future, and it doesn't really matter where I do this, but it's to make a change. And so wherever I end up, however I do it, as long as there is change being made and I'm part of it, I would be happy.
Well, I'll share mine too. My goal for the future is, sometimes Ryan would ask this question too, when he's introducing us to people, he'd be like, introduce your goal. And I would always say to help people. And I think Khadija said that too, to help people, but you don't know how. So I want to find some like solid position through which I can keep helping certain minority communities and do what I mentioned earlier to amplify their voices. That is a very strong goal of mine.
Oh, so I think I'm Nala. I see your mouth moving and it looks like you're trying to speak, but you're on mute.
Okay, so one of my goals is achieving self-love. So appreciating myself, becoming more confident in things I do, and just being overall happy.
Oh, now I'm on mute. Thanks, Nala. And I think I saw Shamar. You jumped off, Shamar.
I'd say a goal for the future for me is to just try and do the best in whatever I choose to do with my life, and try and leave a lasting impact and do something meaningful. That's one of my goals.
Thanks so much, Shamar. Maybe I'll ask one more question if we got some time. I'm seeing we're a little bit over, but maybe we can push it a little bit. So what have you learned from other students in the program? And actually, maybe I'll ask this question to Jonathan first. Maybe Jonathan, what have you learned from students in the program? And that'll open up to some of the other students that are on here. What have you learned from other students within the program?
Well, I learned the power of the young mind. These young people are so bright and innovative. We have presented them with university level knowledge and information. And my fear was, I will know, what if they don't grasp it? And I teach at the university level. And some of the concepts that I introduced in my first and my fourth year classes, they have a hard time wrapping their heads around it. And they have a really hard time being critical thinkers. But this group, we presented a lot of information to them, and they just got it. And they were able to deconstruct it and to think critically about it, and then to flip it back towards us with really thought-provoking and challenging questions. I think it was just last week when Dr. Brown came on, and he was hit with a barrage of questions that were very challenging, right? And I think it's just, it's very special to me when you can see young people challenging the status quo. And I think that's what we're doing with this program. And so I learned that they can step up to whatever challenge we throw at them. And that's pretty inspiring. I've been inspired by these young people like every single week, something new.
Thanks, Jonathan. And same question to everyone else here. What have you learned from other people within the program, other students in the program?
I'm going to jump in here, and I'm going to mention the two people who I was in the program with, Maimuna and Khadija. So with Khadija, I remember we did a little activity, and at the end of the day, Ryan took a little reflection from us, and he was like, so do you think you are, so he first asked me, do you think you're a leader type person, or do you think you're just gonna like follow along? And I was like, it depends if I'm put in that position or not. And then he asked Khadija the same question. She's like, no, I want to be in a leadership position. And then that made me realize, like, this girl's the same age as me. She has sort of the same opportunities presented as me. So it's okay, and it's okay for her to be in a leadership position. So why not me? Why do I want to be like in the following position? And it helped me like understand that yes, you can always be in the leadership position, again with the whole self-assurance thing. And then with Maimuna, like Jonathan just mentioned, challenging the status quo, that is her thing. That is continuously what she talks about. And I'm pretty sure she like uses any and every opportunity she has to do that. And I just learn a lot from people my age, which is really cool. But yeah, these two women are just crazy awesome.
I concur. Crazy awesome. And so I know we're just over time. So the last question I'll ask to the group before we wrap it up is, how did the Outreach and Access program change your thought about your own community? So how does it make you look at your own community differently?
I'd like to jump in for this one. Sorry, Khadija. Basically, I think before I was in this program and like learned about the roots behind the issues that we see in different communities today, whenever I would hear about like an issue, I'd be like, oh, that's so unfortunate. You know, leave it at that. But then after this program, as I heard about, like, as I was talking about the layers of all of these different issues, whenever I'd hear about an issue in a certain community or a community or a neighborhood that had a particular issue that was exclusive to it, wow, forgot how to talk for a second. I no longer just heard about the issue and left it at that. I started thinking, I was like, what is it that could pertain to this issue? Why is it that this issue affects this community and does not affect other communities around it, for example? And I think just that way of thinking, I would have never thought before this program. And so that now I'm in this program, it's like really revolutionized the way I'm looking at all of these issues, whether it be on a global scale, on a really local scale, or in my community, like as a person myself. And I think that's a really valuable thing that I really took from it. And I hope everyone who comes into this program, whether it be far in the future, takes it as well.
So I think Khadija had a last comment, and then maybe I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything that Pawel said. For me as well, I think it's really changed the way I think about the community, and that now I don't, instead of accepting the options that are presented to me, I will explore the options that are presented to me, which is something that I think the program really helped me. You know, it made me think about why it is things are the way they are, and that kind of sort of played into how I got into the different positions that I'm in right now. So leading the Youth of Easter egg team and with like the different organizations, like I don't know if I would have been able to believe in myself enough without the program that I was a part of, and, you know, think about myself as a community leader. Because you guys did mention, you know, you guys can be community leaders time and time again, and that really did stick with me. So why wait till, you know, I'm done with my education? Why not start now? Why not start building that change right now? And while speaking with different community members, I've really learned to love our community. People might call it marginalized, but I think we're resilient. I really do think we are. And yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Great way to wrap up. I want to give a special thanks to everyone who was able to join us. Khadija, Maimuna, Maha, Bilal, Xavier, Shamar, Nala, Jonathan, thank you all for spending some time with us today. I know that the audience had a great time and got a great opportunity learning from you all. I want to just answer one of those questions. Someone asked whether we are looking to expand more. We are definitely looking to expand, always going to look to expand and have a broader impact. But just to wrap up, I want to thank you everyone. Thanks everyone for joining the event. And on behalf of the DLSPH Advancement and Alumni Engagement, so I want to thank you all. I want to remind the audience that the event will be posted on the DLSPH YouTube page following the closure of this event, and it will be closed captioned if they can pick apart what I'm saying. I want to encourage you all to sort of stay in touch, follow the DLSPH and IHPME on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And one last thing I want to make sure I give them proper thanks to everyone who helped to start this program. I wanted to give a thanks to Staney Brown, who is no longer here, but a major thanks to him. As mentioned, and at Pawel and really all the DLSPH staff that continue to support this program. And again, we are proudly sponsored by UofT, the UofT Affinity Partners, Manulife. And again, just continuing to express our gratitude for folks who enable this program and encourage you all to continue to support and enable this program as we go forward. We're so excited for the leaders that we're building and the leaders that we're training, and excited to see what they do in the future. So thank you again. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you all soon.